the parasha of this week usually is studied with the next parasha together. But we are in a leap year and we are having the advantage and the luxury, if I can call it that way, to speak about each portion by itself. This parasha is the last before, this is the one before the last parasha of the Hassefer Bamidbar, and then we are going to see here the parasha Mattote, that means the tribes. And the next one is Maaseh, who is the journeys that Israel did from the exit of Egypt to arriving to the promised land 40 years later. Now, in the next chapter, not all the points are, all the stops are mentioned, are only the most important ones, and the one that something happened to bring us an attention to us and to the rest of the world, how God dealt with his people at that time. I always say that it's easier to learn from others' experience than to learn from your own experience. But we are such a hard head that we want to learn from our own experience only, and that becomes very painful. How many of us, I wish that we had parents that they have been very wise to let us know certain things. And then later on, we realize that our disobedience has caused us more problems than happiness. And we need to come out of that. Always in this process, there is a redeeming portion that comes about turning around, doing the teshuvah, coming back to our Father. You know, like the prodigal son, and like so many beautiful teachings about coming back to God. And in order to come back to God, we need to undress our souls before Him. And we need to open ourselves. And we need to talk to Him. And to talk to Him means to acknowledge everything that we have done. In that process of acknowledging and making right comes the total healing. And this is important that you understand. Healing is not only physical. Okay? Many people are so embodied in the idea of only physical healing. You know, they're looking for the fountains of youth and those kind of things. People that put a lot of pills in their mouth and they try to be younger than what nature tells us, and not accepting or admitting that we want it or not. Years count, and this is only a process that God has given to us, and that this process is normal and natural. Yes, we need to take care of ourselves. I am not saying to you not to take care of yourself. What I'm saying is this is a natural process, you know, and that we that have faith in God and we have faith in our Messiah, you know, that we believe in the Messiah coming and the restoration. We know that life here doesn't end here, but it's only a new beginning. Then sometimes I ask myself, why you hold, you know, to this life sometimes when there is so much things to see after that. And people say, be careful what you say because they are talking about suicidal. No, I am not saying this because our God is a God of life, not a God of death. You know, and to us, in the Torah, in the scripture, they teach us that the transformation comes little by little, and we are getting from one mountain to another mountain to another mountain. We are always growing. You know, older that you get, you're going to be more mature and more full. Your body deteriorates, but your soul increases and grows. How many times I have told you, for example, that when you go to a mirror and you look at yourself, and like that happened to me today, you know, I look at myself and say, man, I am getting old. You know, but I don't feel old, but I am getting old. you know, my dark hair, you know, is so beautiful. People say, what dark? It's so white, you know. And I say, well, that's how I remember myself. No, this is how I feel. Well, we are in the process here in the Bamidbar. Those last 38 years of Israel in the desert, and they are now in the last year in which Moshe Rabbeinu knows that time is short. He's getting to the point that he doesn't know how much to tell the people. You know, the last things. Please don't forget this. You know, I don't know if you probably have gone to vacation, and then you get ready for vacation, and you get your list and everything that you're going to do for a trip. You know, and then you say, I didn't forget the keys, I didn't forget, I turned the gas, or I turned the air conditioner, I turned this, I turned the light. You know, you're always making your list what you didn't forget. Wherever you go, when you arrive to that place, you forgot something. You know, and you say, I needed to bring this, why I didn't bring it. Well, that's the problem with Moshe Rabbeinu right now. Moshe Rabbeinu is almost desperate. Because he wants to tell everything, to remind his people everything that they have done in 38 years, you know, in 40 years. And that's a little bit hard to remember everything. Then he's trying to remind them, don't forget this, don't forget that, don't do this, don't do that. And sometimes mix things that he has already said before, and he reminding them again. We need to look in that way. The reminder. And also to understand why sometimes certain points comes during the time of life. When you're talking sometimes with people, and you need to remind them something, you will bring them back something that happened before in order that they can understand what you're trying to tell them. You know, that's what we call a comparative teaching. You know, I'm going to try to bring something that happened or something that I has already told you, only to refresh you and to make it better. In this parasha, we are going to have three different issues. One is about the vows, the second, vows and oaths. The second one is about retaliation against the Midianites, to pay them back for what they have done to Israel. And the third portion that we're going to see is about a group of the tribes that they're trying to split from the 12th tribe. And you're going to see that that separation brings a lot of problems. Quickly, in order that I am able to, because I want to talk more about the last portion, but only to give you only a synopsis and an idea about the first two. First of all, with the vows and the oaths. Specifically here is directed to the women. Interestingly, this is the first time that we say that Moshe is Moshe, no, the God who speaks to Moshe and Moshe to the people of Aaron. Here, Moshe speaks directly to the chieftains of the tribes. You know? And in this process, he calls them and he's going to tell them about the vows. The question of most of the sages, most of the rabbis, they tell us why he needs to bring again the vows when we already saw in by the crowd, and we have seen in Bamidbar with the Nazarite vows and all these things, we have seen that portion. Why we need to look at it again? You know, sometimes people say they try to do thousands of explanations, but we need to read it in, I always say, read it in the context that is happening. The Torah not necessarily need to be chronological to give a teaching. Like I said to you, I want to bring something in the past, in the present, in order to bring you another teaching or to amplify the teaching. This is how God works towards us. That's how our parents work to us. You know, at the beginning we are very young, they tell us something very limited, we keep growing, and they teach us a little bit more. This is the same idea. Nothing new. When you go to school, You know, you start in kindergarten, first grade. You learn to read a little bit, and little later, you're learning more and more and more. It's a process. It's a growing up. Well, the same thing. Now there are 38 years. This is the second generation, and also because it's a second generation, not necessarily the second generation has everything ready in their heads and they are clear and everything. I need to make a refresher course. Now the second generation has already been polluted, if I can use the term, by the first generation. They told the past all the bad things, and they repeated many of the mistakes of the parents. No, they complaining, they were very complaining, and you know, we Jewish people, we have something in favor. We never complain, you know. Well, one time I was talking to another rabbi who knows my same way of belief, and we were discussing about Yeshayahu chapter 52, 13 to the end of chapter 53, what they call it the suffering servant. And he was insisting that, like a Rashi, that is Israel. And I said, read this part, and he did not open his mouth. That's the only thing I said. Read this part. And now let me ask you this. Tell me only one Jew that you know that can open his mouth. Okay? That's certainly the controversy. You don't need to be a scholar or any greater than anybody. You already know that you're not talking about Israel. But it's talking about a child of Israel. But let me go back to this. The vows are given, and especially to the woman, to bring the woman to a higher level. People say, how that could be? You know, I have been trying to explain this in different ways, and sometimes I am misunderstood, you know, and sometimes people don't understand what I'm trying to say, or I am not clear what I'm trying to say. But I have told you not once, but many times, that I believe there was a process in the creation that God gave us, or made. And you know, and we as men, we need to accept this fact according to the Torah. We were created before the woman. And the woman was the last thing that God created. Only for that idea, we see that there is an improvement. Let me put it that way. Improvement. I don't want to say better word, superior or anything like that. Improvement. Okay. We wanted or not, the woman had something that we as men, we cannot have. You know? We cannot have a child for 9 months in our belly. As Sandra right now, and she's going to tell you, okay? And how much satisfaction they have the women when they are pregnant, that they cannot sit down, they cannot stand up, they cannot sleep, they cannot move, they cannot go one side, no on the other side. Well, and you know, and then the woman brings life. Okay? Women bring life. Of course, with the help of our Creator, and sometimes with the help of the husband, sometimes. But this is the process. Okay? They go higher. And then, there is something that happens in the women. You know, maybe their psyche, the way of thinking, everything else the children. Nothing else but the children. To the point that they become fanatics. You know, only the children. Go to a cave when you have the lioness with the cubs and try to pull one. And you're going to see how you lose your life very quickly. You know? Believe me or not, most of the mothers are lionesses. You know? Don't touch their children because they kill you. Okay? You can touch anybody but not the children. But in that process, God make the woman special. But I gave to the men the sovereignty. And this is something that today is totally lost and is totally in many ways, even the modern world has totally turned over. They call it feminism and all this stuff because men, we as men, we didn't understood the place of responsibility. And instead to take it as a responsibility, we took it as a power taking. We took it as dominating. We took it as a slave people that we took the woman as a slave, or as a merchandise, or as a possession. And was totally the contrary. The men needed to protect the woman. They needed to treat her better. But we didn't do that. And then our Almighty Creator started giving certain rules for the men. In order that the men could follow these rules, needed to be spoken or given in a way that showed that they were still in charge and they were still obeying God, you know. And one of the ideas was, don't touch the woman because it's unclean, you know. But this uncleanness is not that the woman is contagious, but that was in order to give to the woman a break, to give it a space. Especially in Tashriah, when we see the woman after giving birth. The saying is asking, how a woman can commit a sin when she gives birth? You know, in Christianity, especially in the Catholic Church, they explain it as the original sin. You know, they commit a sin, Eve committed a sin, and that's the reason of that. But let's get rid of the theology, okay? But sex is not evil. Totally the contrary. Was good and was a blessing. But there needed to be certain ways to do it. No? In certain conditions. But when you go out of those rules, when you go out of those, you commit something against not only God, against nature, against everything. Now, here is another way that God is bringing the woman up. How? Because finally the woman is making her as an entity by herself. Finally, the woman is going to have the capability to be independent from her husband to a certain extent, or from her parents to a certain extent, especially now when they are widowers or they are divorcees. Now they are going to represent themselves. This is the idea. Now you are a human being, equal to men. You have the same rules and obligations than men. That's elevating the status of the woman. Sometimes people don't understand this, but at that time, the woman, because was a commodity, and that was a property of the husband or the parents, they could sell it, they could make a exchange. You know, I give you my daughter for 3 cows, or, you know, depending the value at that time of the woman, or 6 sheep, or whatever. You know, they could do. I give you my daughter to marry. You say she can be your maidservant or whatever. You give me money. This is what the exchange. You know, they would put their wife, not their wife, the daughters, even to slavery, sold to slavery, because that was a way to protect them. But that was a way of protection. That needed to be changed little by little. And to give it to the woman the status of a human being, not commodity. And this is what the vows are all about. Finally, the woman is going to come up to the top and is going to say, I am responsible for what I say and for what I do. I don't know if you know, but in that time, only to give you an example, if a husband will do something against another woman, and that other woman was married, for example, he killed the other woman, or damaged the other woman, the people would come and take the wife of this man who did something wrong and kill the wife or do something to the wife. Not to him, to the wife. You know, the woman was only a merchandise. This comes the difference, and this is what the Torah did, elevated the woman. Today, of course, so much men and women, they have lost the idea about the roles. No superiority, but roles. Different. Anytime that our society lose their identity and they lose the differentiation between good and evil, we are decaying. And when we do not understand, what is a woman and what is a man, we go to literally to destruction. And that's happening right now. We are so confused about our roles. We are so confused around identity. We are so confused about our own sexuality that we do not have a real clear pattern that we can follow. And any time that we talk about reality, immediately people attack you. They say you are a religious fanatic and you don't see the reality and the truth. You know, when two men got together, doesn't matter how they try, they will never have children. And when the two women get together, doesn't matter how much they try, they cannot have children among themselves. Now, of course, that we have evolved. Now the men, they hired a woman to have a child, and the woman hire a donor, and they have it. But that is totally unnatural. That's not what the scripture not what is the natural way to do things. Then, here is no that I am a fanatic or holier than thou and I want to tell you what is right and what is wrong. What I'm telling you is what society is going through. We are totally confused because our values have been changed. And changing our values, we do not know any longer what is right and what is wrong. You know, I was explaining to you last week, having a conversation with a young person, you know, told me, Rabbi, I do not agree with you at all in this issue. What's wrong with that situation? And I realized how the schools today have brainwashed the children. You will be surprised how the schools have brainwashed the children to the point that right now the children do not have a clear understanding what is right and what is wrong. And this is why it's so important to understand the Word of God, but also we need to measure the consequences of doing what is wrong. Now, people say, oh, we are in chaos right now. Everything is upside down. You know, we hear wars and rumors of war, exactly what our Messiah Yeshua told us before he left this world. You know, and he said, you're going to hear rumors of wars and wars. And right now, the world is inflamed. You have wars everywhere, and they are killing each other. But the only culprit, the only bad country, is Israel, by the way. This is the only one that does all the killing. The rest of the countries are innocent. They kill among themselves because they don't have any other thing to do. But Israel is wrong. You say, what has to do with the women, with the vows, and with this thing? You need to see this. When we do not start from the beginning, that your yes is yes and your no is no, you start being a wishy-washy person. And when you are in a wishy-washy community, in a wishy-washy country, in a wishy-washy situation, you will never ever you want to have a clear direction. And wishy-washy produce you confusion. And confusion, then you don't have a clear understanding where you're going. I am not talking about being fanatic. I am talking about being clear about what is right and what is wrong. Because in that way, we can keep going. The vows, God is telling the chiefs of the tribes that this is the one that you need to know. And why they put the vows here? Because we're going to see in the next portion about the war against the Midianites. And we are going to see how Moshe Rabbeinu get upset with the people of, with the soldiers, with the troops of Israel, when they bring back, after they destroy the Midianites, and he said, go and kill them. What did they do? In chapter 31, verse 13, when the troops, they come back, he say, Moshe, Elazar the Kohen, and all the leaders of the assembly went out to meet them outside the camp. And Moses was angry with the commanders of the army, the officers of the thousands and the officers of the hundreds, who came from the legion of the battle. Moses said to them, did you let every female leave? Behold, they caused the children of Israel by the word of Balaam to commit a betrayal against the Lord regarding the matters of Peor. And the plague occurred in the assembly of the Lord. So now, kill every male among the young children and every woman fit to know a man by lying with a male. You shall kill, but all the young children among the women who have not known lying with a male, you may keep it alive for yourself. And as for you, encamp outside the camp for 7-day period. Whoever kill a person or touch a corpse shall purify yourself on the 3rd day, and on the 7th day, you and your captives, and the garment, every vessel, hide everything male of goats or hair, and every vessel of wood you shall purify. This is a part what is very interesting. We were talking about certain issues that in the Torah we see. There have been written a lot of books about the times of Moses and the cultures of the time. You know, the words, believe me or not, today we think that we are barbaric. Before we were even worse. You know, we are a little bit more humane, we say. Now we keep you with a little compassion. But before they will kill you without compassion at all. And usually, the army who defeat the other army, they have the right to kill everyone. And they will do that, you know. And they will hold certain people for certain things, and usually they will become slaves or tortured to death. That was part of the culture of the time. But when God will say, you need to destroy these people, you know, was not mere vengeance, as many people will think. You know, when I talked to you about you remember this young man who has cancer and they wanted to cut the leg, but he refused to cut his leg and he died? Well, you know, there are certain groups, they are cancerous. And they need to be cut, they need to be eliminated. Because what they do is destroying the soul of the people. You know, one thing is to fight. Another thing is to destroy the morality of the people. And that's what the Midianite women did with Israel. You know, they didn't fight in a way that you fight with weapons or things like that. They fought with a strategy that was to deceive the people and to change their soul, change their system, and to go to a false God and to do things that were repugnant to the God of Israel. Then, Balaam, and he mentioned Balaam, because Balaam knew that he couldn't curse Israel to be defeated. But he knew that the God of Israel was his God too. That's something, you know, a very simple principle. You know, if you disobey me, you suffer the consequences. And this is what he knew that he was going to get the the forces of Moabites who will destroy the army of Israel, but it was going to be God himself, blessed be his name, who will destroy Israel. And this is something that, by the way, we need to think about today. Because Israel is right now in a war, you know. They say that it is in a limited war. I don't know how you can call it a limited war, but it's a limited war. And they are trying to destroy the defenses of the Hamas, especially the rockets, the sites, and the tunnels. And going there, of course, there are always innocent casualties. As much that Israel tries to keep a minimum of the casualties, there's always a war that is casualties. You know, it's interesting that these people complain about how Israel is killing children, but they don't tell you that they were the ones that they put the children there. You know, and the children are suffering not because of Israel. The children are suffering because of them. Okay? Because Hamas doesn't want to separate their army with the population. And they are hiding themselves in their, just yesterday or before yesterday, in one of the centers of the United Nations for world refugees, you know, they found weapons and rockets and everything in the United Nations who is condemning Israel. Then I say, give me a break. Well, but Israel is going to suffer. Why? Israel is not a saint. I'm sorry, I am a Zionist, I am Jew, I am pro-Israel, I am everything. But I need to see them for what they are. You know? And Israel is not behaving the best. And by the way, I am not talking about how they behave with the enemy. I am not talking about that, as many people think. No. To me, with the enemies are very, very kind. Too kind, to be honest to you. Is how they are behaving in the relationship with the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. With their attitude, with their behavior, with their actions. One of the greatest problems of Israel still cannot change. And that's what is very interesting to me. They demanded on Prophet Hanabi Shmuel, Prophet Samuel, they demanded to have a king. Why? Because we want to be like the other nations. What is happening right now? Israel, now more than ever, they want to be like the other nations. And to be like the other nations, they think that they're going to be accepted. They think that they're going to be accepted if they are as barbarians and barbaric and totally wrong in the values like the rest of the world. If they accommodate more with the world, they're going to be better accepted. Instead to be right with what the God teaches how to be. Because we are getting away from God and we are saying to the world, this is for me. We are accepting the ways of the world instead to be accepting the ways of Torah. And doing that, we are totally destroying our souls. And when we destroy our souls, that's it, when we destroy ourselves. It's like the Midianite women. That's what they're doing today to Israel. And now Israel has the pride, well, not to say this, that is the most open democratic nation in the Middle East. And to be the most open democratic nation in the Middle East, it's not that you have freedom for certain things. You are libertine. You can do whatever you want to do, and you don't care. This is what is the problem. Because that is the Israel that could not represent the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And because of that, they need to suffer consequences. We never measure in that way. Sometimes, yes, I totally accept and I believe there is an anti-Semitism and there is a bias against Israel. The question is, does Israel deserve this or not? And the answer depends where you see it. If you see it only as a humanitarian, you will say no. But if you see it through the eyes of the Torah, you say, "Wow, we are getting in hard places. It is really bad." This is the reason why we need to be open-minded and we need to be clear. You know, you cannot justify bad behavior because others behave badly. You know, I have friends that come to Canada, especially my Israeli friends, and they want to be so much being accepted as Canadian. And what's the first thing that they learn? It's interesting. Bad words. You know? And then they start cursing everybody. They even don't know what they are saying, but that's just all the language they have. You know, it's terrible. Why? Because they think that that's the way that they're going to be accepted, speaking in that way. That's just terrible. You know, I grew up in a home that we were not allowed to use any bad word or any curse or anything like that. I can be honest to you that don't do those things. I have never done it. Why? Not that they didn't have the desire to do it. That had nothing to do with it. It has to do that is being taught to you since you were born. That is taught at home. But what happened is you do not have a good basis at home. Do you know that Israel had the basis at home? Because the community of Israel was a home for Israel, and it has as a father God himself. And has as the leader, almost like a mother, was Moshe Rabbeinu. Giving them the teachings and the values that they needed to have to survive. But they decided instead to go with what our parents are, the right teachings are good for us, we decided to be equal to the world. And instead to be light, we become darkness. And this is the problem right now. Okay? Because Israel was going to be all Goyim, not to darkness in the world. To bring light, not to bring obscurity. And we are in that process. This is the reason why, in my understanding right now, Israel is so confused. The problem is not technological. The problem is not that Israel cannot defeat all these people. That's not the problem. The problem is that Israel is more worried about what the world says than what is right. That's the problem. And you cannot have two masters, as our Messiah Yeshua told us. You cannot have two masters, because you want to love one and hate the other. Are you under God, or are you under the world? Are you under God, or you are under the nations, the United Nations? Are you under God, or you are under the United States and the European countries? Are the values? Who are you under? That is very important to understand in this portion of Mattote. Leaving that, I go to the next portion. It is about the request from Reuben, God and the half tribe of Manasseh. And this is interesting because here I want to finish with a little bit of maybe not a trash, but a calling to all of us. If we go to chapter 35, I'm sorry, 32. 32. 32. This is the book I was reading today. Now if you want to read another book, you feel free. Okay. In chapter 32 of the book of Numbers, the children of Reuben and the children of Gad had abundant livestock, very great. They saw that the land of Hazer and the land of Gilead, and below, behold, it was a place for livestock. The children of Gad and the children of Reuben came and said to Moshe, to Eleazar the Kohen, and to the leader of the assembly, saying, Atarot and Divon, and Jazer and Nimrod, and Heshbon and Eleale, and Sevan and Nevo, and Beon, the land that the Lord smote before the assembly of Israel, it is a land of livestock, and your servant has livestock. And they say, if we have found favor in your eyes, let this land be given to your servants as heritage. Do not bring us across the Jordan. Moses said to the children of Gad and the children of Reuben, shall your brothers go out to battle while you settle here? Why do you dissuade the heart of the children of Israel from crossing to the land that the Lord has given them? This is what your father did when I sent them from Kadesh Barnea to see the land. They went up to the valley of Eshcol and saw the land, and they dissuaded the heart of the children of Israel not to come to the land that the Lord has given them. The wrath of the Lord burned on that day, and they swore, saying, if this had been given them, the wrath of the Lord, if these men who came up from Egypt, from the age of 20 years and above, will see the ground that I swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, for they have not followed me fully, except for Caleb and Jephunneh, the Kenizzite, and Joshua, son of Nun, for they followed the Lord fully. The wrath of the Lord burning against Israel, and he made them wander in the wilderness for 40 years, until the generation that did evil and the eyes of the Lord was consumed. Behold, you have risen up in a place of your father, a society of sinful people, to add more to the burning wrath of the Lord against Israel. For if you will turn away from after him, he will again let his rest in the wilderness, and you will be destroyed, this entire people. And you can keep reading, but I'm going to give you a synopsis about all this because it's very interesting what you can get from here. In a very special way, to understand, and yesterday we were having a discussion about if Israel can be without the land, or with land, and things like that. You know, the land of Eretz Israel was given to Israel by God to possess, but not to be the owners, only to take it and to use it. But they were in certain way, their landlord is God Almighty. That this is until today. Okay? Take this concept. And then there were going to be two ways about how the land was going to be distributed. The first one, that they took a census, and the size of the land that they were going to receive was according to the numbers of the people in each tribe. That was so important, and you want to see later on in the last parasha. Again, the daughter of Sephalohet, they come the new idea that they only can marry the children of their own tribe. But here, we are going to see something even very interesting in the sense of how the land was distributed. The site was going to be given according to the numbers of the members in the tribe, in each tribe. But how the land was going to be allocated, that was very interesting. You know, can you imagine 12 tribes and each one say, I want this and I want this and I want this? You will be crazy. I mean, for example, Judah received the best land, everybody is going to complain, and there is favoritism. No? Then what was the solution? Was through lots. Okay? In Proverbs say, the men use the lot, but God is who decided. You know? But at least through lots, nobody will get upset. Because that was, let's see, luck, chance. No? And they throw it away. Now, for example, I'm sorry that I don't want to get out, but it's very interesting. When we say in Judaism, we say Mattote, I heard some, the Gentiles say, oh, you cannot trust him. And that means luck. No, 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 no. We follow the principle of the scripture. The principle of scripture is the chance is up to God. What we are saying is, have good chance with God. Oh, may God bless you. That's the idea. Anyway, let me come back again. Because I need to say that because so many people misunderstand that part. Anyway, let me go back to here. Then, what Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh they do? They see the land. This, by the way, is in Transjordan, okay, in the other side of the Jordan River. They have not even yet crossed the Jordan. And they want to stay there because they see beautiful pastures. We have a lot of livestock. Like they are the only one that have livestock, you know? And we have our animals. And we want to stay. We don't want to go. We stay here. Here is very important about unity against division. And we need to understand this teaching and this principle. Suddenly, and you want to read in chapter 34, that God divided the land according to Moses to the 9.5 tribes, and doesn't mention the other 2.5 tribes. You know, in lots he divided the land. The other they got the portion. And to the 9.5 tribes he said, I am giving to you this land. To Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh said, you have took this land. Okay? And that is a big, those two words, came and kaf, giving and taking, makes a big spiritual difference. Little words makes a lot of difference. Okay? On one side is, I am blessing you with this land. On the other side, you have taken your own way. What are the results of this later on? Because you see it in the moment, but you need to see later on why Moshe was so upset. First of all, you're going to be seeing Joshua 2 later on, that there was almost a war against Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh with the rest of the tribes of the children, because they built their own altars and they were trying to separate, and finally there was Samuel and Pinchas and Jehoshua. They make a peace agreement. But here is what is important that you need to understand, because this is what brings us together. When you are very selfish, and you think on yourself, that's not the way that the Torah teaches about community. In the Torah, the reason that we exist is for the sake of the community, never is for our own sake. And what Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh were saying, this is for me, and I don't care about the rest. But they needed to understand this. Sihon and Og, they were conquered not by them. They were conquered by Israel. You want this land? Moshe tells them, and then they say, oh, they look like that they understood a little bit, and they say, well, we won't be here until we after we conquer, we are going back to this land. Okay, and Moshe Rabbeinu accepted that part. But please understand, once you are selfish, you want to be selfish the rest of your life. Okay? The corollary of this story, to make it short, is this. The first tribes that were taken in captivity were Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh. That already tells you about when you separate and you think that you can do on your own, you become weak. And when you only think about yourself and you don't think about the rest, you become weak. One of the things that our beloved rabbis tell us and teach us, why the destruction of the second temple? You know, in Christianity we have heard because they killed Jesus the Messiah. You know, the rabbis say this, the reason that Israel lost the temple and they were destroyed and were separated because of the Hinam Sinat. Sinat Hinam. Yeah? Free hate. Okay? Among ourselves. Not among the others. It would be good that you hate the outsiders, but the hate within your people. And that destroys. And I believe that one of those hate, what they hate their own people, our Messiah Yeshua in the heart. They hate it. And the religious people paid a great price. Sometimes we need to read the scriptures and the history and to see the complexity and see the whole background here and how things happen. Things doesn't happen only because of mere casualty or mere coincidence. Things happen because we brew something. It's like when you cook, you know, a good dish doesn't happen because you put everything together and you let it happen. You know, you need to do certain things until that happens. Takes a time. When a good brew, you know, you need to give it time. But when you brew evil inside you, you are going to create a great problem of destruction among yourself. Let me bring it for today and I'm finished here. Because this is something. Right now, Israel is in a battle of survival, literally. You know, you need to understand that we are 6 million, okay? 6 million in Eretz Israel, fighting more than 250 million around us. And the truth of the matter is that Israel knows that if we don't pass any covenant or any type of truce or peace agreement, we will never survive. There are people that are very fanatic and they say, no, Israel needs to destroy all their enemies. The others, more humanitarian, say we need to make it right with one or the other. Looking at our Messiah Yeshua, they say, before you go to go to war against somebody else, you know, check about how strong they are. If they are stronger than you, be quick to make peace with them. You know? And the truth of the matter, there are more. And numbers makes a big difference. And we need to be smart the way that we deal. I honestly do not believe that there is going to be any solution in the Middle East. Sorry, I am not pessimist. I am realist. Okay? And the only solution that is going to come from Messiah comes back. Okay? But from meantime, we need to survive. Until he doesn't come, we need to keep life. Because life is a gift from God. And we need to do our best. But our best is not trying to follow the world. We need to come back to God. And this is not only for Israel, it's for the rest of the world. More and more, the humanism, the religious of men has taken over the true God. More and more, we as human beings, we have enthroned ourselves to the point that we have our own ideas and values that goes totally against the core of our neshama, our soul. And we are destroying ourselves without even realizing that we are destroying ourselves. And not only that, but we are celebrating supposedly our freedom to do whatever we want to do. In the sense, when you have that position, you are destroying not only yourself, but you're destroying the world. I am not telling you to be holier than thou, because I don't believe in that. I am not telling you to be better than others, because I don't believe in that. But I am telling you that if we do not have the values, and we do not understand what is right and what is wrong, we need to start checking ourselves. And it's very confusing right now. And I want to tell you, it's very confusing for all of us. How many times I have been asked questions, you know, that it's no yes or no. You know, simple answers sometimes they don't bring everything. But we need to understand that they are absolutes. And those absolutes come from God. And when you change those absolutes from God, and you make it only partial, or you change it, what you are doing is destroying yourself, and because you destroy yourself, you destroy society. And little by little, you know, many people think that our worst enemy is the atomic bomb, or our worst enemy is another dictator or another thing that is going to destroy us. Let me tell you, our worst enemy is ourselves when we do not do what is right. And this is what we need to start thinking about. No? It's very easy to point our fingers to those ones who persecute us. The question is, why are we persecuted? You know, if I am doing what the things are right, why do I need to be afraid of? You can take my life, of course. But we already know that to us to live here is good, but there is something else that's waiting and expecting for us that is much better. Then, I am a person that preach about or talks about let's go die together. No, I don't believe in that. I believe totally the contrary. I believe in life and good life. I like to go to the beach. I like to go to have my vacations. I like to be in a cool weather, not like this one. You know, I like to have things to enjoy life. I am not a masochist. And I am not telling you that we need to be masochists. Totally the contrary. I am telling you to enjoy life, but in the right way. This is what Torah teaches. And that's what we need to do. And like I say to you every time I talk, our Messiah Yeshua, and this is the ending, our Messiah Yeshua came for that reason, to bring us back. And God, you need to remember this. He has not failed, as many people say. Totally the contrary. He wake up a lot of people. One of those, I hope to say that I am one of those. I was awake by him, by his presence. And I am grateful that I have the faith that he is coming. I am ready and I am waiting for him. I hope that you too. Shabbat Shalom.